the chaplain to chaplains. I love that title.
That is
from
good.
Jericho Road here on the line with us. Good morning, Joseph.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Now, there's a reason why we've got you on the line and we're talking to you. But first, before people might have never heard of Jericho Road before, tell us about the organisation.
Well, Jericho Road is a Christian charity. It's a social service arm of the Presbyterian Church in New South Wales. And for chaplaincy is a part of the program. Our vision is to demonstrate the amazing love and the gracious character of God by providing fresh hope and care to those facing trauma, grief, ill health, or incarceration, and also to the emergency service community as well, like police.
Wow, that is a lot of different groups of people. So can you tell us some of those different groups? So we're talking about people who are maybe in hospital, emergency services. Did you say prisons as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So we place chaplains, first of all, public hospitals, large public hospitals around Sydney area. We place chaplains there to provide spiritual and pastoral care to the patients and their families, and also to staff as well. And some of our chaplains sit within ethics committee of the hospitals as well. So they do a whole range of stuff. And we have chaplains in prison. Currently, we have one near Bathurst and one in Greater Western Sydney. And they just almost live there.
Wow.
40 plus hours a week, just hanging out with inmates, providing chapel services, but also one-on-one counselling, lifestyle groups, and things like the Salvation Army provides a different sort of programs, and they run all those things, as well as, just taking them out for community visits and things like that as well, and supporting their families too. And we have a senior chaplain who works with a police community. He visits all the way, Broken Hills, Dubbo, and places like that, visiting coffin stations, also appointing volunteer police chaplains as well.
Wow.
And we have some volunteer RFS chaplains and ambulance chaplains as well. So a whole range of stuff.
That is incredible.
You have totally got us on the back foot here, Josie, because I was expecting to go, we've got 3 or 4 guys working around a couple of prisons, but you are everywhere there with the Presbyterian Church. God bless you guys. There's one particular story. We saw a video of you interviewing, have I got it right, a former inmate called Phil.
Yeah, that's right. Phil, incredible story of God's amazing love that reaches behind bars. Phil's story came to us through one of our chaplains who supported him near Bathurst. And Phil was there for a number of years. And through his time with our chaplain team, he became Christian. He not only became a Christian, he became so committed to following Jesus. When I met Phil in the community, he's been out in the community for a number of years. He was just really on fire for the Lord, and it was really it was just a blessing time for me to be spending time with him, because he was basically saying how God had transformed him through some of the most darkest moments of his life. And he made it so clear to us why we need chaplains, and not just any chaplains, because unfortunately, from government's point of view, chaplains can be any religion. It can be Buddhist, it can be Hindu, it can be anybody, even atheists. Humanist chaplains are coming along at the moment as well. But why we need Christian chaplains in public institutions like prisons and hospitals, because we know that the hope that we have in Jesus is far better than any hope. It's beyond cure. It's beyond anything, freedom. So Phil was able to encounter hope of Jesus through our chaplain team. And that's such a great story. We wanted to get that story out there to tell people about what God is doing in hidden places like prison.
We'll put the video up on our socials and make sure everybody's got a chance to see it. There's one aspect of Phil's story that I really, really love, but we'll get into that next. Here we've got Joseph Park from Jericho Road with us on Rise and Shine. Joe, so good to have you with us. We were talking about Phil and this amazing story of him as a man who was a non-Christian in prison, hearing, the gospel message, coming out, and you were telling us about how on fire he is in the community for the Lord. But one aspect I love in looking through it is that Christian radio has been a part of his journey. Flesh that out a little bit for us.
Well, in prison, guys have a very limited interaction with sort of social media and other things like that.
Yes.
And it's during the chapel service that Tim was able to play some songs, Christian songs. And Phil didn't grow up listening to Christian songs every now and then when he was a young boy and things like that. But it was on this particular chapel that he heard a Christian song play through Christian radio that it really just transformed his heart towards God. And I think it's the power of such a media like radio that brings Christian songs and hymns and stories to people. And it sort of reaches through all borders, even through prison bars. And I think from then on, Phil really sort of brought all these influences through radios and songs and chapels and interactions with chaplains. And that really sort of solidified his faith in Jesus. And he continued that even while he's living out in the community, that he's a very on fire for Jesus. He listens to Christian radios all the time. And I think that's bringing a lot of encouragement to him.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's
Amazing.
fantastic.
Well, Joseph, we're all inspired this morning by the work that you guys are doing out in places that we will never be able to reach personally. But it's exciting to know that this month, and I'm sure all the time, but particularly this month, there's a focus on what we can do to help your organisation. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, October appeal is we set aside this month to really focus on raising awareness of Christian chaplaincy in public places. So chaplaincy has been around for many, many years. Government is supporting hospital chaplaincy, police chaplaincy, and corrective service chaplaincies. And, you've probably heard of defense chaplaincy as well, which is quite big and historically well respected. But in civil space, government provides funding, but the funding is never enough. We as a charity and the Christian denomination, we chip in to cover the full cost of employing our chaplains. Guys like Phil, it is work of God, but God uses his people to bring his message to people. And so it wasn't a coincidence that Phil got to meet Tim, and Tim became his mentor, his pastor, while he was behind bars. And we can only place Tim if our funding is sustained and supported. So that's why we are asking people to consider praying for us and consider giving for this Christian ministry, because it is what God is doing behind bars, and everyone can be part of this. And as you mentioned, Fel, without permission, without authorization, no one can just rock up into a prison and share the gospel. No one can actually go to hospital behind intensive care where I used to work and just rock up and tell people about Jesus. You need permission, you need authorization, you need vaccinations, you need all that sort of stuff. But we have the opportunity, we have the people, they are well-trained, committed Christians in places where others can't go. So this is like a mission work. And this is like sending missionaries to Saudi Arabia. So this is really important work, and we would love everyone to be part of this appeal. Raising $30,000 is our target. This year we have about $100,000 gap in our funding. We've raised about $50,000 so far. We need to do more to reach our $100,000 target. And this month we're trying to raise $30,000. So please get involved with that, please.
Joseph, I'm so impressed that the costs are so small. Like the fact that you're wanting to raise, the gap of $30,000. I thought it was going to be a lot more to do the work that you're doing. So the way that you're able to stretch a dollar with what you're doing with Jericho Road is such a blessing. Going to tell everybody, go to jerichoroad.org.au. We're going to put the links, the videos, all the information up on our social media there. But jerichoroad.org.au, when you go there, you'll see right there Phil's story, a place to be able to click, to be able to give towards this amazing work of prison chaplaincy. But not just prison chaplaincy, as you said, Joseph, the chaplain to chaplains. You are,
intensive care
everywhere.
It's
everywhere.
amazing.
Thank you. It's such a privilege, the work that I do. I mean, I worked as 6 years as a hospital chaplain. and I saw what God is doing behind bars, behind prisons, behind police stations, and behind intensive care and the emergency services. And I think this is such a good and noble work that we can be part of. And I thank you so much for the opportunity to talk to your listeners about our work today. Thank you.
Oh, we just thank you so much, Joseph, for coming on and chatting to us. Come back. I think we'll have to have Joseph back.
100%.
Because he's got so many stories. It's so inspiring. And faith building, which is what we're all about. Look, if you want that website again, is jerichoroad.org.au, and you can jump on there and get involved with their appeal over the month of October.